If you have a glitch in the Matrix that you'd like to share with the channel, go to astheravendreams.com and click the button to send it my way. And of course, thank you. Hello, Raven. I want to start off by saying that I've found solace in listening to you narrate these inexplicable experiences of ours. Thank you for creating a safe space for us to share them. Your channel has become what I'll call my favorite bedtime story when I'm struggling to wind down at night. Well, thank you. I recently had a strange experience that led me here, my first glitch. I'm used to having experiences that are more on the paranormal side, the darker side of the paranormal, so this experience was completely new for me, and almost like a breath of fresh air considering my usual very dark paranormal experiences. I'm a truck driver, and I was driving down the interstate through a place called Thackerville, Oklahoma. Little to no scenery, so I was just enjoying my music playing through my headset. I looked to the left lane and noticed these two very nice cars passing me. I'm pretty sure they were BMWs. BMW i8s to be exact. One of my all-time favorite cars. There was a white one and a yellow one. They were identical, just two different colors. It was obvious that they were traveling together, and I would assume maybe to like some car event or something. I was in the right lane, since 18-wheelers should always travel in the right lane. I'm watching this white BMW and yellow BMW pass me in the left lane. There was a Walmart semi-truck in front of them, driving very slowly. The Walmart semi eventually gets over in front of me in the right lane to let the BMWs pass. I was completely captivated by these two cars because of how nice they were, and watched them pass until they were almost completely out of my view. I see both cars continue up the interstate, and eventually, I can no longer see them. At this point, I go back to listening to music, and I'm skipping through various songs because they don't match my mood. I skipped through songs for maybe 25 seconds max until I found the one I wanted to listen to. I know at some point I did a quick glance over at my phone on the dash to actually look at the name of a song, but I quickly shifted my eyes back to the road. Here is where my reality completely shifted somehow. I look over to the left lane again, and see the same two BMWs passing me. The white one, and the yellow one. I see the same Walmart semi-truck in front of them. The Walmart semi gets over in front of me in the right lane and lets the two BMWs pass, again. I instantly get chills because I knew something strange had happened. I almost felt like I was stuck in some sort of loop, and thought that I would see the event happen even a third time. My thoughts were racing and nothing made sense in the moment. I turn off my music to think clearly and replay the entire event in my mind to make sure there was nothing I missed. But I vividly remember there being no exits or anything on this stretch where the event occurred. No exits, no turnaround spots, nothing. Just a desolate long stretch on the interstate with very little traffic. What bothered me the most is me not realizing how the Walmart semi somehow glitched back into the left lane again without me noticing. As if I wished I would have caught the glitch in action somehow. I also want to make it clear that I was not sleep deprived, nor was I hallucinating. It didn't take long for me to realize that I had experienced something completely unexplainable, something that I would struggle to put into words because I was trying to process what even happened. I drove in silence for maybe the next hour or so, because I was still trying to process what happened, and how it happened, and also hoping that my brain was okay. I didn't know how to explain this occurrence to anyone without sounding like I was completely losing my mind. I knew it would be hard to explain seeing an entire event play out maybe 25 seconds before it actually did. Before this experience, I had never heard of time slips or timeline jumping, so it led me down a rabbit hole and on a quest for answers. I've had another similar glitch since. Both happened within a period of 2 weeks. The 2 glitches I have experienced have completely changed my view on reality and our existence as a whole. I feel that I finally got my own personal confirmation that we are existing in another dimension simultaneously, which I've always believed. Thank you for taking the time to read my story, and I hope it helps anyone out there trying to understand and navigate this side of reality. Sending love and light. This happened years ago now, but I figured I would post it. It's a bit long-winded for something seemingly mundane, but it creeped me out. I was coming home from work one day, about 6 years ago, nothing remotely out of the ordinary. The place I was living in at the time had a very narrow hallway that leads on the also narrow back door. The door most of us used daily. There's a staging area for wiping your feet and taking off your shoes, as I'm pretty sure is normal with entrances and exits. On this particular day, I drove home and as usual used the back door to get into the house. When I did this, I hit something as I opened it, and was met with an audible "oh" in a familiar voice. My live-in landlord. This did not seem at all unusual. I just figured my landlord had gotten home a minute or even a few seconds before me, and was just taking off his shoes or coat or whatever in the small staging area in the narrow hallway. I closed the door, waited 30 seconds or so for him to presumably finish what he was doing, and then opened the door again. The thing is, upon doing so, there was no sight of my landlord. He wasn't in the communal kitchen or living room, nor the main floor bathroom. You would have to walk across the entirety of the house and up the stairs to get to anywhere private, and I certainly didn't hear any scurrying or fast movement. Kind of weirded out, I went upstairs to where my landlord and other roommates' rooms are to see if I was going crazy. The only roommate that was home was the one that was known to not leave their room very often, which I could hear talking loudly to people over a voice chat, something he often did. I have a hard time believing that he would have had time to even make it from the back door to his room and jump into a voice chat. And besides, it was definitely not his voice that I heard when I had opened the door previously. My landlord always kept his door closed and locked, so while I couldn't directly investigate if he was in his room, there were no noises coming from it. He really wasn't there. After this cursory investigation, I went back to my room to decompress a bit after work, attributing this to me going a bit crazy or something. But to confirm my previous investigation, my landlord walked in the back door approximately half an hour later with his briefcase, coat, nice shoes. He was just getting home from work. I was immensely weirded out and didn't even run it by him at this point what I had experienced. I am sure I had opened the door and bumped into someone. I'm sure that someone was my landlord. I'd heard their voice 1,000 times, but that just wasn't possible. There was no one that could have been in the doorway, and it certainly couldn't have been my landlord. Hi guys. Something weird happened to me this weekend, and I want to know if anyone has similar stories. I couldn't find anything searching the sub. My boyfriend's family has this house in the countryside, where me and my boyfriend like to go to spend the weekends, like once every 2 or 3 months. Ever since the first time I went to this house, my boyfriend's room had its walls painted light green. Although the shade of green is pretty light, it's dark enough so you can distinguish it from other colors, especially white. Last month, I went to his house again, and the walls on his room were now fully white. I instantly noticed it was looking different and said to my boyfriend that the room looked way better that way, with white walls. My boyfriend looked at me like I was crazy and said, "What are you talking about? They've always been this color." I'm already used to him not paying attention to anything. He has severe ADHD, so it's not weird that he never noticed before. So I said that his room was green before. He denied again, and then I showed him on my phone a picture of him inside the room with green walls. We laughed about his lack of attention to the world around him, and that was it. We spent the whole weekend there, and during that time we slept in his room, now with white walls. Now, last weekend, his parents held an event there, and I got there earlier to help with the preparations. As soon as I entered his room, the walls were painted light green again. I asked him if his father asked someone to paint the walls again, and one more time, he said his walls have always been that color. I said the last time I was there, the walls were painted white, but maybe his dad painted them white and then painted them green again. He assured me that those walls were not painted again in a long time, because you could still see stains that have always been there. It's true. I could see the old stains and marks too. I then mentioned that we already had this exact same conversation last time I was there, but with the white walls, and he remembered it right away. I said that maybe his dad had changed the light bulb, but he was 100% sure that no one had done such a thing. Although my boyfriend's memory is not that reliable, I do believe that no one painted the walls again or changed the light bulbs. Even if someone did last month, I could still see the room white with only the sunlight that came from the window. And there were indeed very old stains in the walls. Things like marks where the beds used to touch the walls, and little spots from insects killed by us. My boyfriend didn't care that much about this occurrence. He said that it was weird and moved on. I saw many stories here about objects going missing, but never came across something like this. Has anyone here ever experienced a similar event? Last night, my boyfriend and I were listening to a podcast in my bed via screencast. My phone screen was off while connected, and thus neither my phone nor the TV was emitting any light. We were just lying in the dark listening when I went to search for my phone under the covers, but couldn't find it. My boyfriend and I lifted up the covers to look for it, when I thought my boyfriend had turned on his phone's flashlight to help me see in the dark. It was concentrated light that was directed straight under the covers. It wasn't like it was light coming from outside, and somehow making its way under my thick comforter. It lasted like 2 seconds until I moved the cover over a bit to dig deeper for my phone. I actually thanked him for turning on the flashlight and asked him to shine the light again, and he responded with confusion. I again repeated that the phone flashlight had been helpful, and he pointed out that his phone was on the nightstand. I looked, and sure enough, his keys were on his phone next to his wallet. I didn't hear his keys jingle, so I know that he hadn't moved his phone within the 2 seconds the confusion began. He's a very skeptical person, and he thought that I was just messing with him. We eventually found my phone, and it was in a spot under the covers / away from the bed that my flashlight or screen couldn't possibly be accidentally turned on when searching. The covers were completely covering that part of the bed where my phone was found. The screen was dark when I found it, so it just couldn't have been the screen activating the TV somehow. And again, it was just so concentrated that it seemed like it existed right under the covers. Not like it was anything from the room or the streets. We live in Boston, and it's really humid here since it's summer. And as one with lots of experience with bed static, it was nothing like that. It was a steady, constant glow that seemed like the source was coming from behind my shoulder and lighting up the area directly in front of me. even though my boyfriend and I were completely under the covers at this point while we searched. I have absolutely zero idea what this could have been, and my boyfriend, the skeptic, has zero ideas either. Some Google searches showed ball lightning as a possibility, but there was no distinct smell after it appeared. I'm really truly stumped and a bit spooked, so if anybody has any thoughts, I would really appreciate hearing them. I want to start by saying I consider myself a very observant person. I'm horrible with names, but I will remember a face. This is what makes me confident enough to share this story. My wife and I went to Louisiana for her best friend's wedding. It was a long trip from where we lived in the upper Midwest, but it was worth it. Her friend's family made us feel so welcomed, like we were honestly a part of their family. We did the normal wedding stuff, rehearsals and other things, but we also just hung out in general. After the rehearsal, the wedding party, and both the bride and groom's family went out to eat at this Mexican restaurant. And this was a massive party though, so my social battery was dying really quickly. I told my wife that I needed to go to the bathroom, which I genuinely did, but it was also an excuse to get a quick recharge. I feel that. Now this is where it gets unsettling. I did my business and started washing my hands. That's when this man walked in. I'll never forget how he looked. He was a heavy-set Caucasian dude. He had a close-cropped beard and wore an extremely loud and almost ridiculous cowboy outfit. He came in smiling at me and washing his hands. We exchanged greetings like usual, and then he complimented my shirt. It was a Spider-Man No Way Home shirt. I thanked him, and he said he loved superheroes too, and that he had a full collection of Christopher Reeve's Superman films at his house. I thought it was a normal thing to boast, but then it hit me that, out of all the superhero movies he could choose, he picked my favorite Superman. I brushed it off as coincidence and said goodbye. We both walked out, him behind me. As I was walking back to my seat, I suddenly heard the same dude, clear as day, say my name out loud. I spun around since he was right behind me and he was gone. I looked around and he was nowhere to be seen. It genuinely freaked me out because I never even mentioned my name to him, and it was almost impossible for him to leave the restaurant that quickly. I told my wife and she chalked it up to a coincidence. The rest of the wedding planning went well, but then the reception came around. I was having an absolute blast, not drinking a thing, mind you, I was underage at the time, when I spotted this dude, bald everywhere beside his eyebrows, just staring at me. I stared back at him, and considering my last experience, I started making my way towards him. I made it to where he was, and he was gone. I looked everywhere around the party, accounted for every face, and nobody matched. I had chills for a while before trying to shake it off and enjoy the party. Fast forward 3 months later, and my wife and I moved down south to the Carolinas. We were looking for a place since we were staying with my parents, so we checked out a town that some friends were living at. This town is about 3 hours from my parents. And while out to eat with them, I went to the bathroom again. As soon as I was done in the stall, I turned the corner of the stall to the sink and almost ran into someone. I looked up, and it was the same man from Louisiana. He wasn't wearing the cowboy outfit, nor did he speak. He just smiled at me, and it wasn't a genuine smile. He smiled only in his mouth. The rest of his face wasn't smiling. I stood shocked, and I looked at this other dude in there, and that's when I realized the other stall was open. He didn't need to wait for my stall. The guy just walked into the stall, still smiling at me. I went back to my seat and told my wife, in which she got chills. Our seat was in front of the restroom, so I watched intently to see if he would come out so I could show her, but he never did. I rushed back into the bathroom to see if he was still in there, and the stall was empty. I'm still freaked out by this. It seems almost impossible for someone to follow us that much, literally across states. I'll update this further if anything develops. I don't know who is following me or if they have good intentions or not. Update: I just had an experience in a bathroom. I went into a stall in a restaurant, and while I'm going, I hear someone come in. I leave the stall and see them standing in the handicapped stall behind the partition wall. The door to the stall was open, and they were facing the partition wall, not going. They stayed that way until I left the bathroom, just standing there not moving. I never saw their face, just their shoes. Brown leather work boots. Nobody else was in the bathroom. This happened to me 3 days ago. I'm still in a shock/disbelief/slightly scared mindset. So I've lived in my current home just a year this week. When I moved in, I had a small vase with fake thistle and heather in it. I had owned the vase for many years previous to this, and it had survived 3 house moves so far. It lived in various places in the new house since we moved it, either on my fireplace, on my side table, or in my hallway. It moved out of the hallway permanently as the windowsill it was on had a leak over winter, and there was nowhere else for it to go in the hall. My 3-year-old smashed said vase around 6 months ago when she knocked it off the fireplace, and myself and my 2 eldest daughters laughed at the old Hubba Bubba chewing gum wrappers that they had stashed in there many years previously. I actually remember saying out loud, I've had this vase since first address. I'm gutted. Circle rounds to this week. My 3-year-old was playing a peekaboo game in the porch with me and the older girls, and to hide from her behind the door, we had to squish up to the wall, and my oldest daughter parked her bottom on the small window ledge in the hallway. It's a 60 centimeter wide and around 15 centimeters deep, if that. There's nothing there. I come out of the lounge less than half an hour later to go upstairs, and sat there on the windowsill is the vase, intact, on the edge of the sill. Instantly, I recoiled and shouted, "Oh my god, what is that doing there?" I was dumbfounded but scared at the actual unknownness of it reappearing. All 4 kids came to the stairway/hallway thinking I'd seen a spider or something, and upon seeing the vase, my eldest goes, How? Mom, we literally sat there half an hour ago and that was a smashed vase." She even repeated the gum wrapper anecdote. I have no idea how it's ended up back here. I do have small psychic tendencies, thoughts that manifest days later, knowing when people are going to pass, etc., but this has thrown my head. To stop the kids worrying, I said, "Right, let's Google the meaning of the flowers, as it has to be a sign." Sure enough, if you Google them, they bring protection. Funnily enough, though, this isn't the only glitch I've experienced in this house. I was cooking a cottage pie and opened the lid on the Worcestershire sauce. It span, hit me, in the stovetop, and then never hit the ground. My kitchen is 2 by 2 meters floor space. No gaps in the kickboards or under the washer or oven are even big enough. I've never found the lid to the bottle. I scoured the floor on my hands and knees to no avail, and I have no logical explanations for both incidents. So, a bit of backstory. I'm a boarding school counselor. I work with teens around 16, have been working at it for 3 years now. Around 10 years back, I was 20, lived in the same city not too far from the boarding school. One day, as I was working in retail, this kind of emo-looking teen walks in and instantly recognizes me. He called out my name, something along the lines of, "Oh my god, Liz, I didn't know you worked here." Now, I'm a person who has really good facial recognition, even though I'm terrible with names. But I had no idea who this kid was, so I just told him that he must have gotten it wrong. He initially laughed like I was playing a joke on him, and said something like, "Yeah, right, it's me, Johnny. Do you have amnesia or something?" In a way that felt like he was really familiar with me. But when he realized I was serious, he got so disappointed and looked actually hurt. Like there was no way that I didn't know him, but didn't insist and just got what he came for and left. It really stuck with me for years because I felt so bad that I didn't recognize this kid that seemed really happy to see me and even knew my name. I was also sure that I'd see him again since most people coming to shop there are locals. And I wanted to ask him where he thought he knew me from when I next saw him. But I never did. It just struck me as really odd. A few weeks back, one of the kids had to leave boarding school since his family decided to move abroad. And since this is a very high-demand boarding school, some days later, a new kid joined our group instead of him. Lo and behold, it's Johnny. Same kind of emo look, same name, same way of talking. I know it sounds like something years could distort, but I have no doubts it's the same kid. I remembered his name and looks since I wondered about it every once in a while since. This, however, shouldn't be possible, since he would be around 10 years ago. We also grew really close really fast since we have very similar backgrounds. I'm honestly just waiting for the day that he comes back to school and says he saw me working in a store nearby. I'll let you all know if he does. So, my mom had this Pandora bracelet that she adored. My dad, my sister, her mom, and some friends all got her charms for it, and she would also get some herself. She never took that bracelet off. Around a year ago, I was looking for a shop that sells those charms for the bracelet around where I lived, so I could also get one for her birthday. I was new to the neighborhood since I had just finished my BA degree and moved out of the dorms to my own apartment. So I was really happy to find a jewelry shop that sold them a few streets from my new place. I distinctly remember the jeweler there. She was this kind lady, looked to be around my mom's age, dressed in a bit of an old-fashioned way. Anyway, I got her a charm that says Best Mom, and she really loved it. Fast forward to this year, my mom passed away this January. It was unexpected and painful, but that's a topic for another post. The only thing I asked my dad and sister to let me keep was her bracelet, and they happily agreed. Around a month ago, one of the charms broke. Now, if you know Pandora bracelets, you know that usually shops that sell their charms also have the means to fix them. And so I figured I would go back to that shop to fix it. I went to the exact same address. I'm sure of it. I have a screenshot of the location in Google Maps I took just in case I needed to get back there, but there was no shop. In fact, there were only residential buildings. I clearly remember a year ago it was a commercial building that had maybe 4 or 5 shops. That in and of itself is weird, but I figured maybe somehow in a year they changed the place or took down the commercial building. But no. I asked my landlady about it. She's been living in this neighborhood for around 20 years, and she'd never heard about such a place. I also asked some friends that live close to me, and no one has any idea what I'm talking about. Google has no answers, but that Best Mom charm is still there. I really don't know what to make out of this. A couple of months ago, I bought my partner a new cordless mower to replace the old one. The main reason for the purchase was because the cord was cracked in several places, and the cracks were covered by insulation tape in 5 or 6 spots, and in some spots the wires were visible. I distinctly remember retaping a couple of spots over the years. I've been with my partner for 12 years. This was her lawnmower, and she had taped the spots herself. She's the gardener of the house, and whenever she mowed the lawn, I would warn her not to step on the broken spots on the cord for fear of electrocution, as she did me on the very few times that I mowed. This carried on for years until I bought the new one. I didn't tell her that I bought one, but when it arrived, I told her it was because it was lighter for her, but mainly because of the cord issues. She thanked me and we started spring with a new mower. A couple of weeks later, I'm rooting through the garage and I noticed what I presumed to be a new bright yellow cord on the old mower. The old one was gray, was tatty, and was taped in spots. When my partner came home from work, I asked her when she had got it replaced. She looked at me blankly and said that it had not been replaced, that the yellow cord had always been on the mower. I reminded her of the reason I told her for getting a new one. She said that she wasn't sure what I meant about the cord, but chose not to say anything, so I went through everything I have written with her. I remember all the light-hearted warnings regarding the cord. I remember taping several spots all over a 12-year period, but she has no idea what I'm talking about. The lawnmower is the only one she's ever had, and nothing was ever wrong with the cord, and it has never been replaced. And we've never made any electrocution jokes regarding the cord. I simply cannot explain it. So that, my friends, was this week's collection of these enjoyed, bizarre stories known as Glitch in the Matrix stories. Glitch in the Matrix stories are stories that demonstrate the weirdness, the oddness, the bizarre instances that occur within our simulation situation, if you will. The stories that highlight the bugs in the coding of existence. And let me tell you, existence is some spaghetti code, my friend. It is spaghetti code filled with what are those, Egyptian grain moths or whatever? The ones that eat grain stuff that you get in the bird food? Those. I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about with that. It may not be a thing everywhere. So whenever you go to like Ace or Lowe's or whatever, or even Walmart, and you buy the bags of bird food that have like all the grass seed in them and everything, sometimes you get the little moths in them. Those are... I'm not going to look it up, because then I'd get down a rabbit hole of looking at moths. I think they're like Egyptian grain or Egyptian silk moths, something like that. Not sure on the 100%. But anyways, they're little moths, and you have to like keep the bird food separate from everything because they can become an infestation, interestingly enough. The easiest way to contain the infestation is to like put the bird food in like a deep freezer, or if it's winter, you can put it outside, because they can't stand cold whatsoever, and that'll get rid of them. It's not relevant. What am I even talking about? Anyways, strange stories, bizarre stories. It's a buggy mess, our life is. Anyways, if you enjoyed the stories, consider hitting that like button under the video. That would help a lot. You know, quite a bit. It would help. If you're new to the channel and liked what you heard, you consider subscribing. That'd be great. Hitting that subscribe button. You can also join Patreon and membership to get early access to content like this and other things. You can also do a super thanks, which is a tip to the channel. You can also listen to the podcast over on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible, Amazon Music, a few other places. I'm all over the place. My podcast exists, everywhere. Not really. Last I checked on my Spotify side of things, there in the last month, there was 700 people who listened to my podcast on an Xbox. I don't know what that means for me. I have an Xbox. I don't know how you listen to podcasts on Xbox. It's not even on Spotify on my Xbox or anything. It's like they actually like used a podcasting app on Xbox. I didn't know that was a thing. I have an Xbox. I didn't know it was a thing. Anyway, listen there. I also do have a merch store. It's down in the description below. You can go check it out. I have some interesting stuff, you know. And if you have a story, just go to astheravendreams.com to send it my way. Now, all the self-promotion out of the way in the outro. Let's move on to what we call the word of the week. Last week, the word was a smelly one. That's a funny way to put that. It wasn't smelly. It was a redolent word, if you will. It let go a lot of fragrances. The word did. Redolent is a very fragrant word. Anyways, on the screen right now and a few moments prior to now are the beautiful and amazing people who commented with the word of the week last week. These people went above and beyond, took the extra step, commented with the word of the week, and here I share their screenshots with you. Thank you to each and every single one of you. You all are amazing. I hope you know that. If you didn't comment with the word of the week, that's totally okay. You're still amazing. This week, the word of the week is one that I'm a little more keen to use. It's keen. K-E-E-N. It means intellectually alert, having or characteristics of a quick mind, shrewdly astute, extremely sensitive in perception, sharply contested, or showing a quick and ardent responsiveness. There are a ton of definitions for keen. You can go look it up on Merriam-Webster. That's the website I use for my words of the week. I don't use their word of the week, because their word of the week is a good one, and I'm going to put it on the list. Or their word of the day, I guess. But it's not going to be this week. This week is keen. Use keen, get on the screen. Use keen, get on the screen. There you go. I like that. Anyways, friends, hope you're having a beautiful day and a beautiful week so far. Hope I see you again here very soon, like tomorrow. And I hope until then you remember you are loved, you are valid, you are important, you are the best you that you can be. Do not forget it, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And until next time, my friends, much love, and sleep well.